He handed me the envelope and smiled like he owned the place. I opened it and found a signed check. The memo line read void. He shut the door and walked to his Tesla like it was a joke. I stood on his marble foyer with his signature and $0. Pause. My name is Alex Rivera. I ran a small remodeling company, Rivera Contracting. We did high-end kitchens and whole-floor renovations in LA. My crew was 3 guys, Tony, who framed like a machine, Luis on tile and grout, and Miguel, who handled trim and the impossible corners. We weren't the cheapest. We weren't the fanciest. But we showed up on time and finished what we started. I met Elliott Mercer in December 2023. He was a regular kind of millionaire real estate developer, bespoke suits, a place on Willow Lane in Pacific Palisades. He wanted his penthouse gutted and a kitchen that could host an eating contest. We signed a written contract, $64,200 total. Deposit $20,000 up front. Progress payments at 30% and 60%. Final payment on completion. I did everything by the book. We started January 6, 2024. I sent invoices with invoice numbers, job codes, and photos. On March 12, 2024, my crew finished the job. The cabinets were flush. The caulk lines were clean. Tony joked that Elliott would host Thanksgiving himself. I sent the final invoice #RC32024 on March 15. It read, balance due $58,600, due March 30, 2024. I emailed the photo punch list. I texted him the day we cleaned up, job complete. Final invoice sent. Call with questions. At 9:04 a.m. he replied, looks great. I'll take care of it. 2 weeks passed. No payment. On April 10 at 2:14 p.m. I called Elliott. He was pleasant. He told me his bank was delaying a transfer because of paperwork. He promised payment by April 15th. At 4:38 p.m. he stopped answering texts. Then came the first lie. On April 20th I drove to his house to talk face-to-face. He met me at the door with an envelope and that smug smile. He said, I'm good for it, Alex. I opened the envelope in his foyer, found a signed check and the memo line read void. He laughed. My assistant messed up, he said. She'll fix it. He shut the door and walked to his car like it was a punchline. Pause. The moment everything changed was later that night. I sat in my truck in the dark and called my crew. Tony and Luis were furious. We had unpaid payroll to meet. We had suppliers who were owed $12,400 for custom marble and fixtures. Miguel texted me a photo of his bank balance, $14.23. I felt something cold and steady settle in my gut. I had spent 12 years building Rivera Contracting. I wasn't going to let some rich man shrug and walk away. I did what I should have done from the start. I documented everything. I printed contracts, invoices, emails, text messages. I tallied receipts, materials $12,400, subcontractor labor $9,200, permits and disposal $3,800, markup and profit to reach the contract balance, final owed $58,600. I called our attorney for a consult. Her name was Jen Park. She told me the 3 tools I had were, 1. Small claims for under $25,000, not enough here, 2. A mechanic's lien against the property, and 3. Notification to the title/escrow companies if Elliott tried to refinance or sell. I filed the mechanic's lien. On April 24, 2024 at 9:12 a.m. I stood at the county recorder's office and submitted lien document #2024-045678. The lien listed the job address 1042 Willow Lane, Pacific Palisades, the contract amount $58,600, and included an itemized breakdown. The clerk stamped it. I felt a little vindictive thrill as the stamp came down. It became public record. Pause. That stamp was the hinge. Elliott's lawyer called me 2 days later at 8:07 a.m. Remove that lien, she said, flat. Her name was Dana Cole from Harrison & Cole. She sent a cease and desist and threatened litigation. I printed the letter and put it in a binder, right next to the emails where Elliott promised payment. He tried to bully with money. I had documentation. This is where knowing the system mattered. I didn't want a fistfight. I wanted leverage. I sent certified letters, one to Elliott, one to his escrow company, and one to the lender I found on the public application for a refinance. I included copies of the signed contract, the invoices, and the recorded lien. When the lender's compliance officer read mechanic's lien on a property they were about to finance, their checklist flagged a stop. Banks don't like title problems. Closings get delayed. Money gets nervous. 2 weeks later, on May 8, the title company called Elliott's office. The $2.1 million waterfront lot he was trying to secure financing for had a closing date of May 15. The buyer's broker was not going to close with a lien sitting on his title. The broker sent a terse email, "Clear title required by May 15 or the seller will consider offer void." I saw the panic in Elliott's voice the next day when he left me a voicemail, "Alex, we can talk. I'll wire something. Don't be crazy." I listened to it twice. I played it for my attorney. Pause. Elliott escalated. He called the sheriff with a false allegation about trespassing. He hired Harrison and Cole and put a $25,000 retainer on my desk, meaning, "Pay up or we'll drag you." He even sent a private investigator to my shop. I sat through the threats and the passive-aggressive emails. He tried to shame me by threatening negative press. He sent a hand-delivered package to my crew with a note, "Do you know what's at stake?" My hand shook writing back, "Pay what you owe." But the lien didn't lie on a desk in a lawyer's file. It lived in county records and the title officer's checklist. That morning when Elliott called me again, he was different, rushed, clipped. He offered $10,000 in cash if I'd sign a release. He told me he'd handle the rest. I refused. Why? Because I smelled a stall. Rich people buy time. Time lets them shuffle money and slip away. If he paid $10,000 and I released the lien, there was nothing to stop him from doing the same to another contractor. So I held steady. I asked for the whole balance plus interest and the county recording fees. I wanted to pay my crew and close the chapter clean. I told Tony and the crew exactly what I was doing. Honesty helps when you're doing the slow burn. We stopped posting about the job. We didn't write scathing Yelp reviews. We followed the law. On May 18, two things happened in one morning. First, the title company refused to clear the closing. Second, Elliott's lawyer contacted my attorney to negotiate. The offer on the table was a full payment if I released the lien immediately and waived any claim to attorney's fees. My attorney drafted a settlement demand, $58,600 for the invoice, $3,620 in recorded interest and fees, and $1,200 for filing and attorney coordination, total $63,420. If they wired the funds to our business account and provided proof of payment to the recorder's office, Rivera Contracting would sign a limited release in exchange for a short satisfaction of lien form. Elliott tried one last move. He called me at 11:02 a.m. and his voice was small, the protective armor stripped away. "Alex, I can wire $40,000 now and the rest in 2 weeks," he said. "My bank will release. I swear." I thought about Tony's daughter's braces, Miguel's mortgage, Luis's next paycheck. I thought about that moment in the foyer when he laughed. I told him calmly, "No. Wire the full amount to our account or we'll let the lien stay." I hung up. Pause. By 3:46 p.m. that afternoon, our bank notified us of an incoming wire. $65,420 landed in Rivera Contracting's checking, $58,600 for the invoice, $4,320 for interest and fees, and $2,500 to cover the legal hold they clearly expected. We signed the satisfaction of lien form. My attorney filed it with the county recorder at 10:09 a.m. on May 19, document hashtag 2024-046789. The lien was released. The title cleared. Elliott's closing went forward, except the seller had kept their word about the contract timeline. Elliott's financing came together, but the seller had lost patience. He paid us, and he lost the chance to renegotiate the waterfront lot at the price he wanted. He closed another deal at a higher rate a month later. I heard through a mutual supplier he'd spent an extra $18,000 in legal and late fees getting things sorted. In the end, my crew was paid. Tony's daughter got braces. Luis paid his rent. Miguel stopped sleeping in the truck. Rivera Contracting kept its reputation. I had exact receipts for every penny we collected and every cent spent. No dramatic billboard. No public shaming. Just paperwork, timing, and persistence. Elliott Mercer got his money, he just paid for the medicine in full. There were costs. We lost 2 weeks of work trying to manage the legal process. I lost days of sleep. I spent $2,500 on legal fees up front that my client ultimately covered, but the stress left a mark. And I still remembered that laugh in the foyer. Justice sometimes looks like a clerk's stamp and an escrow officer's no, not a cinematic takedown. Years later, at a restaurant in Silver Lake, I saw Elliott slipping out with a briefcase. His hair had a little gray around the temples. I didn't go to his table. I paid my check and left. I thought about how power can make people blind. I thought about how paperwork can be louder than threats. What I learned was simple: if you do the work, document it. If someone tries to walk away, use the system that's built to protect people like you. And when you're small and someone is big, don't let the size of their wallet bully you into a shortcut. I still wonder, if I had been more patient, could I have gotten more? If I'd been more ruthless, would it have been worth it? What would you have done in my place?